Welcome back. Like we said earlier, of course, you're still watching Rise and Shine, your early morning breakfast show. And our first focus for this morning seems to be on the dualization of the Calabar-Itu Road, especially the protest that was ongoing in Odukwangi local government area. And the demands are the fact that compensations have not duly been paid for those that houses were affected and economic trees were also affected on that particular route. But joining us this morning to give perspective to this conversation is Ikpenyong Akaba, who is the media aide to Senator Prince Basi Otu, the incoming governor of Cross River State, and also a youth and a member of the youths of Odukwangi local government area. Good morning, Barrister Akaba, and many thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, good morning. My pleasure to
Okay.
be with you.
Okay. Now, you're not going to be talking to me alone. Oya is also here.
Good morning, Akaba. Good to have you on the show this morning.
Yeah, good morning. I believe in Rio, I'm expecting that we're going to bring in happy hour. Here in Cross River, we're waiting for the season of sweetness to come on board. My
Oh,
pleasure.
yeah. Okay. A happy hours in a couple of days' time. So Friday will be here in a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Okay,
And
Barrister
season of
Akaba.
sweetness in a couple of days, too. I
Okay.
wanted to say that.
All right.
Let's talk about the Calabar-Itu road dualization. If you remember, this particular road has been like a dead trap for so many years. And I would also say that the contract has been awarded to different contractors. Some have abandoned the roads and left it that way and absconded with the monies that were disbursed for the project. But we see that sometime in 2021, the federal government disbursed a total of 185 billion naira for the reconstruction of that particular road. And if I get it correctly now, I think we have about three different contractors handling that particular project. We have Julius Berger, we have Sematech, which seems to be, and then I think there's another indigenous contractors also handling that road construction. But what would you say have been like the successes of that road so far in terms of the construction? What would you say have been done and not been done so far?
Yes, for me, I must commend the activities of Julius Berger. And before commending Julius Berger on what they have been doing, what we've seen on ground, I would also very specially commend the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, for his dexterity and delivery of a long-abandoned road, like you said, for decades. We shall eternally remain grateful because he activated that. And unfortunately, we are not too happy with what Sematech is doing because the project, like you mentioned, we have a section of the road that is being handled by Julius Berger, and then another section handled by Sematech. Remember, we came out under the aegis of concerned youth of Odukwangi local government a couple of days ago. So my reaction is not a personal reaction. It's on behalf of that forum of young people, concerned youths and citizens, women of Odukwangi local government. We have had majority people saying that the standard of work and progress done by Sematech is very poor. And Julius Berger, like I said, is commendable. So on the terms of what is going on the road, in terms of construction, that's our view. Now, what took us to the road, if you permit me to continue like that, was the failure of government, majorly the Minister of Works and Housing, who was behind the 2nd October Federal Executive Council resolution. When I say behind, he sponsored that resolution, and that resolution had to do with the federal government coming up with a position that compensations on the road, that's compensation to secure right of way for the construction of federal roads, will be the burden of compensation will be bared by state governors. And to my knowledge, that resolution was without reaching or even consulting or coming into proper agreement with the state governors. And that resolution, don't forget, the minister is a senior advocate of Nigeria who knows the law very well. A federal government executive council resolution cannot invalidate the laws backing payment or compensation as enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution. Particularly Section 44, Sub 1 and 2, and even what is in Section 29 of the Land Use Act. He is conversant with those provisions, and we are unhappy because several communities still on that road for that project, when it all began, were paid compensations. I was on ground. I have been the spokesperson for benefiting communities. It was a long process for people to claim what was theirs, having gone through the necessary processes of valuation. Now, from Odukmani Junction, there are several communities, beginning from Odukmani Junction, moving forward to Koyong, moving forward to Kurikan. About 9 communities, if I'm not mistaken, were paid compensations when they started construction. Now, they have gone beyond those communities that were earlier paid compensation, even when it was resolved by the Federal Executive Council not to pay to handle compensations to states. But federal government was the one paying, in contradiction of that resolution. Now, having paid some communities, it is very, very disheartening to note that the neighboring community, having witnessed the payment of other communities when the project commenced, and now work is continuing into their own communities without compensation. And this government is winding up. There is no categorical position on what will happen because, as we speak, a lot of economic trees are gone, and even houses. There's a lot of flooding.
Now, when you say that, Barrister Akaba, when you say that the construction of the road is eating into other communities, I will ask a question. Didn't this cover the initial proposed construction?
Now, let me say, when I say eating into other communities, we want the entire road done. What I mean by other communities, on the list, the communities that were paid compensation, there is nothing wrong because the moment you are paid compensation, you can demolish your properties, your crops, whatever you have, because you've been paid and construction will continue. Now, the other communities that are also supposed to enjoy those reliefs have not been paid theirs.
Were they captured initially? Were they captured initially? Because you can't possibly tell me that the federal government is going to do dualize a road and does not take cognizance of, the areas, mark the areas in which they are going, and communities that are going to be affected. So if they are coming out to say that, oh, we are affected today, didn't it cover from the beginning? Because we should understand those things.
Yeah, let me say this. There was proper valuation and claimant form field where estate valuers came throughout the entire stretch of the road. Throughout the entire stretch, they were duly documented. The records are there. Those who had fish ponds were captured. Whatever you had on that road, they were all captured. Now, the project is moving from community to community. I know you know Cross River very well. From Odukmani Junction, as you're heading towards where you have the power plants, the oil and gas park. Now, moving forward, there's a community we call Ekempun. There are many communities in front. Those communities that were captured in front, because I'm aware they paid up to where we have a KFY. Now, those communities, and even Ikorekbo, those communities that were paid, there is no problem. They have gone beyond those communities on that stretch of the road, having captured up to Kurikan Junction and beyond. you're heading to two. They have captured both ways. Now, those structures that were captured and valued, they have not paid. That's what
So
we're
what
saying.
seems to be the problem now? What seems to be the problem? Why are they saying that these communities that were captured initially and documented, why are they saying that they have not been paid? Have consultations been made to ask questions?
Yes, for me, that is why we went on the road, because we demand an explanation. We want to know why so suddenly. It's a concern, because contrary to those resolutions or that particular resolution in the Federal Executive Council on the 17th of August 2020, the Federal Executive Council approved payment of about 2-point-something billion naira for the Federal Ministry of Power as compensation payment for communities in Zunguru, power plant. And Federal Ministry of Transport pays compensation for right of way for rail lines without reference to that Federal Executive Council resolution, against compensation. And it's so shocking that the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, which serve as clearing offices for who vets, approves, and forwards. It is them that vet, approve, and forward to Ministry of Transport. It's conflicting, because why are you making payments for other projects like the rail project, like the power project, and you have made payment for some section of this road project, and you are now not paying other ones?
But in the face of where we hear that, the compensation agreement, or, it was verbally said that the compensation should be carried out by the state government, what is the stance of the state government with regards to these compensation monies?
Between me and you, federal government owes us the responsibility. It's a federal government road. And don't forget, we're talking about resources here. State government that can barely manage their debt burden. How would they be talking about the state government paying compensation? I'm not speaking for the state, but it is clear that the people owing us is not the state. It is the federal government. And federal government has capacity to pay us. Federal government have been paying others. Federal government has paid us already. About 40% have been paid on that road. What we're simply saying is, finish what you started. Why pay some communities and then stop paying in the process? Why are you stopping?
Okay.
Why are you stopping?
So something else that we've seen, Barrister Akaba, we watched the videos of the protests, women, girls, elderly people complaining how frustrated their lives have become as a result of these compensations not being paid. And like you said, work is continuing into some of these communities that these people come from, I beg your pardon. Coming out to protest, so far so good. What are the responses that you have received with regards to the plea of the Dukpayin people?
What are the responses from our people since we went to the road?
Yes, the responses of the federal government, who you wrote to. Did the state government say something? Has the federal government responded since after the Dukpayin people protested?
No. There's been no response. The only response we've had so far have been local response. Our local leaders, for instance, the National Assembly members from our own area had called us that they will also carry forward our argument. The outgoing National Assembly members and the incoming ones are promising us that they will carry forward this argument. Even we had to draw the attention of the incoming governor, because this is something that the incoming government, even at the national level, must take notice of, because we don't want a situation where during handing over notes, it will be played out or it might be mistaken that they have been paid. We have been paid compensation. That's why we're coming at this time where there's transition ongoing. Let it be clear that road project, that they have not been paid. The people there, compensation that was approved, and paid to about 40% claimants of the Julius Berger section sometime in March 2020, And this was done before the NNPC tax credit funding, which came into effect in December 2021. And if NNPC tax credit funding is on board, then money shouldn't be the issue. It should be, some people are trying to sit on on what is supposed to be done. That is why we're crying now, because come out and tell us what the problem is.
Okay, and
Because
we hope that the protest...
Our minister personally engaged estates of surveyors and valuers, firms to assess and prepare valuation report for payment of compensation to affected communities. He was the one who engaged those consultants and surveying firms, So for me, he even approved that same report for payment of compensation to affected host communities. That was why they paid 40%.
I think that
So
the protest, Barrister Akaba, the protest, I would say, is also coming a little bit late, because we have just a couple of days for transition to happen, and then we are asking what is the effect that particular protest have had so
now,
far.
Let me say this. This is not the first time that road is blocked on protest. You can check records. And because we know the importance of that road to our people, like you said earlier, we have been trading with caution because we don't want to lose the road. We have been very, very cooperative. Our leaders, traditional rulers, council chairman, members of assembly, our stakeholders, community leaders had cautioned that whatever that will hinder the progress of that road, should not be. That is why we've been very cooperative. And they kept on promising us that what ought to be done will be done. So this is not a matter of being late, It's a matter of continuing to remind them. This is not the first time. And there have been a series of crises, where people have even been killed. There have been a series of crises where young people on their own. What made that protest you saw last time coordinated was because we had to take charge so that people would not take laws into their hands. But where there used to be protests, where it is not coordinated, it used to take army interventions, people will be shot, crises at the site, because people are really affected.
Okay,
it is
so
true that
because of time, Barrister Akaba, I think we'll let you go very soon. But very importantly as well, as part of the protest, the Odukpai youth group are saying that they are going to make sure that the halt whatever job is ongoing, whatever work is ongoing on that particular road. Now, is it not shooting ourselves on the foot?
Counterproductive.
We know, yes, very counterproductive. We know very well that that road has been in a very deplorable state. And yes, people have had accidents, that people have died. And if the federal government is coming out to say, let us dualize the road, is it not a good thing that is coming to our own part of the country? Okay, so why would we have to stop work construction ongoing on that road just because we're protesting?
Yes, that is why we called it a warning. What we saw there was a warning, because the fact that we want to have a good road doesn't also clear the issue of rendering people homeless, doesn't also clear the issue of people not getting what is their rightful due as enshrined by law, doesn't also negate the fact that this road is being constructed and people's earnings, people's lifetime earnings and savings are going down, whereas the government has what it takes to do necessary compensations. So we're not ignorant of the fact that the road is for good. We're also saying that as it is done everywhere in Nigeria, in other climes, let it also be done here for us. Because in the budget for that road, there is budget for compensation. That's what we are saying. So, because we want federal government to realize that we know our rights, that's what we are saying. Yes, we'll hold the road down. Come and tell us what is going on. We are not going to, when we say we'll hold the road down, they are not also going to leave site because they are on site. We are protecting what they have on site. We're not asking them to leave site. We are saying, hold on and allow the people to know what their fate is. You can imagine the locals. You saw those widows. You saw those, they are very, very ordinary people who earn a living from just selling cassava. Some of them throw poultry. Now you enter and bring all those things down. There's no guarantee of what they should sell the next day. There's no source of livelihood. And you say that government that is meant to take care of the people, which basic responsibility is protection of life and property, have now come to destroy your properties. I'm not going to protect your life because you have no more shelter, because you want to do a new road. No. in as much as you want to give us good roads, you also owe us the responsibility to give us shelter.
All right.
And relocate us.
Okay.
That's what we are saying.
All right. We want to say a very big thank you to you. We just hope that whatever protest is happening at the Odukwanyi Road, it's going to also bring about a lot of successes. Let the groups that, you know, are aggrieved at this moment be also compensated by government, but also let the roads, let the contractors continue the construction on that road. But we say a very big thank you to you, Barrister Ikpenyong Akaba, Media 822 Farm Senator.
Thank you. But before I go, let me say this, that thank you so much. Let me say that our host communities in Odukwanyi have demonstrated for so long a true spirit of patriotism by listening to the controller of works, past and present, and allowing Julius Berger and Sematech to move their equipment up and down. And will continue to do so. But please, they should come to our aid.
All right. Thank you so much.
It's taking too long, and we're hoping that they're beginning to take us for granted. Thank you so much, too.
All right.
And
Thank
I
you
wish
so
you a
much.
happy day.
All right, thank you so much. Very great concerns. Right. Yeah, these were conversations we had, you know, in the course of the week, when you say that monies have been disbursed. Exactly. Of course, if you're looking at 185 billion naira, you definitely will not tell me that a feasibility study wasn't done, you know, to cover up, to cover the places, to cover the places and the communities that this road will affect, either their houses or their economic trees and all of that. And all of that had been documented, okay, and marked out as well. And monies have been given. How much are we going to use to compensate those people? So if the monies have been disbursed, why are we not compensating?
That's the question that the Odukwanyi people are asking, and they're saying it won't be fair on our part if we just closed our eyes and allowed the construction to go on. We know that monies were set aside for the compensation. Let the compensation be fully done. They have, you know, accepted the fact that 40% of the compensation has been done, as some communities, you know, affected by the dualization have been paid. But for the remaining, you know, communities, what is happening with the payment? And I think that they are in their right to raise those concerns, because, like he said, houses are going to be affected, families, livelihoods are going to be affected, and it's necessary that the federal government comes to their aid as soon as possible. I like the fact that he said that senators-elect and the governor-elect are aware of the, you know, the plight of the people. So we expect that as we navigate into a new administration, the plight of the Odukwanyi people will be considered, and hopefully very soon respite will come to them. But then we need to move on from that particular conversation. A lot has been happening within the Labour Party. Factions going up, factions coming down. Last week, it was laid to rest the fact that Julius Abure could now, you know, continue parading himself, you know, as the national chairman of the party. Several other situations are happening, but we need to look into the Labour Party, the leadership tussle, and its impact on the upcoming inauguration. This is something we want to look into, but we need to take a quick break. And when we return, we'll be joined by our guest to bring you that particular conversation. Do stay with us.